Okay, Steve, here we are at the start of another Cubs-White Sox series. You've been around for a few of these and seen a lot going on both on the field and off the field. Today, there's the talk about Kerry Wood's future. What comes to mind when you hear about that?
Oh, I guess potential that was never realized. Cub fans always wanted Kerry to be a little bit better. In fact, his highest win total was 14, and this is a guy that had one of the great arms to ever come into the league. I did the game where he struck out 20 in 1998, and I don't believe there was a team ever assembled that could have hit him that day. Kerry had some great moments for the Cubs. That's one of the reasons why he'll be etched in the pantheon of Cub history. With Cub fans, certainly they've loved him from the beginning. But he also had some major disappointments for this team, and what I've said is for every Game 5 in Atlanta that he won to get him to the next round, there was always a Game 7 here back in Wrigley Field where he didn't get the job done. And unfortunately for Kerry, I think it was his body more than anything else that didn't allow him to achieve what he should have achieved with the gifts that he brought into the game.
To that extent, was it in a way a curse, shall we say, that he had such remarkable success at the beginning of his career and the expectation level was so high?
I don't think it's a curse at all. I think pretty much you have the stuff that you have. You try to refine it. I know that Larry Rothschild certainly worked hard to try to correct the mechanics that I viewed as a fatal flaw, and took a lot of heat for it, by the way, at the time. But as it turned out, it was those mechanics that probably made Kerry not win the 20 games year after year after year. I mean, I saw how Fergie won 20 games 6 years in a row. He had pinpoint control. But realistically, Kerry had better stuff than just about anybody that ever put on that Cub uniform. He just never got out of himself what he had to, and there were a number of different reasons for that.
It's so difficult to leave this game gracefully on your own terms. What do you remember about the end of your career, and how you felt when that day came?
Well, unfortunately, I never got to throw that last pitch to the standing ovation, which is something that I'm pretty sure Kerry wants to do, and hopefully he'll be able to do it. I just decided one day, I never got off the disabled list in 1982. I decided my elbow was not going to get any better. I was sitting in my uniform and wondering if I took it off that day, should I go see the general manager? The answer was yes. I thought there was going to be life after baseball. I didn't know that 4 days later I'd be in the broadcast booth, and lo, these 30 some odd years later I would still be there. But that's exactly what happened. I couldn't help the team anymore, and I knew my arm wasn't going to get any better. I was in my 14th professional season and figured it was a great career, and before I go out and embarrass myself or head to arm surgery or be a pitcher like I was at the beginning but couldn't never be again, I decided that it was time to leave. I think Kerry feels the same way. I think he's frustrated. I think he looked to this year to be a good year for him and a good year for the ball club. It hasn't started out that way for either. And he doesn't want to be embarrassed. He probably realizes that the stuff is not going to be there anymore. And there is indeed, Kerry, life after baseball.
Oh, that's good to know. What about baseball life outside of the playing field, or Wrigley Field, or U.S. Cellular Field? It seems like there's always a topic of great discussion, whether it involves broadcasters like you in the booth or politics, as with the Ricketts family right now. What do you think of all that?
Well, I think the interesting part about it is that it seems to always center around the Cubs-Sox weekend. In this case, a weekend. It'll be during the week a little later on, but when the Cubs and Sox do play, something usually pops up to make it even more interesting than it would normally be. Now, this is a year when neither team is playing particularly well, and the divisions they reside are really bad divisions. I mean, I thought Detroit would jump out and run away. There were some that thought that St. Louis would jump out and run away. Neither really has happened to this point. So it left the divisions wide open, and neither team at this point can take advantage of it. But the ancillary situations that you have to deal with when the Cubs and the Sox do play one another are always interesting. The people who take them really seriously, I think, have a bit of a problem. It's supposed to be fun. Sometimes it's not so much fun. People getting punched out, or people screaming at one another in the dugout, or in this case, a political problem with the Ricketts family, and a commercial that either will or won't be made, who knows, and then you have The Kerry Wood situation, will he pitch or won't he pitch? I mean, this is something that you couldn't have expected coming into this series, but here it is.
And finally, you're back in the booth that you shared so many years with Harry Caray. What do you think Harry's reaction would be to all that's going on today?
Well, one of the things he would say is, what are we doing in this small booth when we should be over there in the big booth?
Right.
That's one of the things. Other than that, Harry had a simple explanation for everything that went on, whether it was political, which sometimes he injected himself into, or whether it was something as mundane as seedless grapes, or whether it was a slump, or whether it was a hot streak, or whether it was a team that was running away and winning every day, or a team that was losing every day. Harry would say, that's baseball. And so I look at this series as something just what it is. It's 1 of 162 each day you come to the ballpark, and strange things seem to happen, but at the end, that's baseball.
That's baseball. All right, Steve, thanks so much. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Fred.